This is Mile High.
We have to do it better in order to move people along.
Up, down, inside out.
If you get your mind right,
it is not. It is a receiver of thought.
because love is my first technique.
It's now time for the show.
Welcome to the Mile High Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Daniel Knowles. Thank you for joining us on the Mile High Podcast. And remember, whatever way you are getting this, because you may be getting this on iTunes, you may be getting it on Stitcher, you may be receiving it on Facebook or YouTube, whatever way you're tuning in, we ask that you subscribe and share, because these episodes keep coming every week, and there's tremendous content to help you maximize your ability to have more impact on your community and the planet in terms of people's transforming their focus in healthcare. Now, also, I want to remind before we get started to clear your calendar for August 17th to 20th for the Mile High Chiropractic Movement Weekend. So if you have not already etched that in permanent ink in your calendar, today's the day to do that. April 15th, before you pay your taxes, make sure you register for Mile High. And we look forward to seeing you there. Be sure to bring your team. Always bring your team to events. And look forward to seeing everybody there. Today's guest on the Mile High Podcast has spoken at every Mile High we've had, and we're coming up on our 5th year, and he is also incredibly well known in the chiropractic profession and the healing arts as a whole. He is the author of 12 Stages of Healing, as well as Healing Myths, Healing Magic, and has just brought so much research and brilliance and artistry and philosophical teachings to the chiropractic profession for 40 years. Welcome, Dr. Donald Epstein.
It's great to be with you at Mile High Recordings.
Yes, it's a lot of fun. So we were having a great time chatting before we started recording off camera, and you've got a lot of exciting things going on. Let's start out with something that we were talking about, which is we were talking about the concept of more, of people wanting more. Why is that something that would be a great area to focus on in your communication?
Well, the first point is that all health conditions are based upon eliminating something, really finding causation of something that you don't think should be there or the person doesn't want, and how to have less pain, less high blood pressure, less cancer, less of something. If you keep focusing on less of something, you forget what you want more of. After all, your whole life is just moving away from what you don't want. You can never really achieve what you must have, what you do want, by focusing what you don't want. If you keep saying no, 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 after a while there's no such thing as yes. So what happens is this: when we're looking at what do we want more of, we want more of health, a new model of health. A model of health that is more than the condition. You see, it used to be that people mattered most. Then after a while, it became their professions. And healthcare was not really a profession. It was a calling, a service. You didn't make much money doing it. It was you were with people as a person, and you used whatever skill set you had at the time in your personing skills. And if a person was ill and running a fever, you may have said, take some whiskey and get some whiskey and put some honey in it, put the person in, bundle it, and God will do his job, or whatever it is. At least first do no harm. And you get on with your life. Then people start talking about treating diseases to eliminate them. Less disease, less disease, less disease. Then they got into now treating symptoms, as if every symptom is a problem, having less symptoms. You know, when you're dead, you have no symptoms. That's definitely the outcome there. And then they talk about, well, now it's about metrics and lowering metrics and things. Well, what we really want to basically, if health is defined as optimum physical, emotional, social well-being, not merely the absence or reduction of disease and infirmity, then the focus for people on reducing things doesn't allow them to increase their vitality, increase the ability to make healthier choices, have more courage, have more love, have more passion, have more compassion, be a leader in the world, and all these things. If the highest goal, for example, is to make the cancer go away, if you get 80% there, you're probably still dead. If your highest goal is to have the healthiest immune system on the planet, it doesn't develop cancer. That's a different story. The concept is really having more. Chiropractic today for a better world tomorrow. What does that really refer to? It really refers to having a better world for yourself and for other people. Maimonides' prayer for the physician was very important to me. In practice, out of my office, it said, in different words, instead of the condition, let me see the person. And let me see not how the person is suffering, but the sufferer, the person. And let me not let anything interfere with the ability to help the person and basically the person to be more. That's why they come in for care. They say, well, I want to get rid of my this or that, want less of that. But the reason why they did that is because they can't play golf or they can't have a good time with their friends. They can't do this. Ultimately, the change in all the physical things they want to, and we say, well, it's because of the subluxation. It's not because of the subluxation. It's because life is not getting through, and the subluxation is part of a much bigger process. It's not a physical thing. It's that mental impulse, that immaterial thing that exists past space and time is not being able to be focused in the body, and physical health is one aspect of it. So yes, the bottom line is that people want in today's world, they want more. They want more they've been told. They want more than their prognosis. They want more than their treatment. They want more life. They want more fulfillment, more things. And the point is, as a chiropractor, you could offer that, but they're not going to want that if all you're telling them about is what they can get less of.
Well, and that's a good point, because there's an aspect of when you're working on a person, whether you're trying to get rid of something negative or enhance what's right with them.
That's right. And that's the key. And one of the key things that I developed in network, I mentioned because that's what I developed in the model of reorganizational healing, rather than restoring a person to a prior state they had, including, let me return you to 2 minutes before you were subluxated. Well, it was really 2 minutes before that subluxation you know of. What about other patterns there? I would say restore them 2 minutes before they got ill, they showed the illness, and therefore you restore them to a prior minimal state? Or do you want to help bring neurological information, energetic strategies, and resources that have never been available to the person? See, I see the vertebral subluxation as a case of arrested development, and correcting its subluxation may bring them back to where they were before. We have available now, if the psyche of the practitioner is to give them more, to create new levels of coherence, new levels of innate expression and never seen before. But to do that, you have to ask different questions in a consultation. You have different outcomes that you're looking for in the outcomes. In every case, you're looking for what is new emerging, what new property of humanity is emerging. How does this individual have more positive survival values? That's where I decided to target the work that we did. And we said what we want to find is how, instead of correcting a vertebral subluxation as my goal, which I think is off purpose in chiropractic, and I'll say this again, I think correcting a vertebral subluxation as your main objective is off basis in chiropractic. And I know I'm going to pause and people are going to quote me and misquote me on that. You see, we don't correct subluxation anyway. But seeing that it's corrected is important. But then see if we can get consensus on what that means. That's a whole nother conversation. What we're really looking for is that that person can have a greater expression of the mental impulse, the pure unit of consciousness, and they have enough energy to organize it effectively to produce what life could produce. Then we have to say, is this working physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually? How's it changing the person's life? And let the person realize that they need the spinal care as a focal point of how energy and information organizes their entire life, their entire reality. So looking at this, what am I looking for? And I remember sitting down with Jerry Klum in the 1990s and telling, well, I realized correction subluxation is still practicing medicine. And he was biting a pencil. He broke it at the time. And he said, what do you mean? I said, yeah, because you're still trying to correct something. Our objective in chiropractic was not correct subluxation. The objective of chiropractic was to liberate life to a higher level of expression. D.D. Palmer said life is about constant progression. Even people in the astral planes have to progress to another levels, he would say. So the point is, correction of adjustment of vertebral subluxation, I'd say like a consciously effective and conscious efficient use of force, the least force to create the greatest change in the spine, to allow the self-organizing wisdom to utilize that so it can organize energy information more effectively as the life and health. That's what we're looking at.
Well, and there's a place of looking at the end result of what you're intervening with. So you're intervening not for the sake of intervening, but because there's an end result you want to see as an outcome, right? You want to see a certain outcome assessment. And one of those outcome assessments that I know you talk about and have done landmark research on, that I think every chiropractic school should be putting in the center of their education, is coherence. Like, we want to see an end result of coherence in the physiology. Yes?
Yeah, that's it. And that's it. You know, in coherence, you know, it's interesting. Years ago, there was a split in chiropractic when Sid William came up with the work he did, and they developed at that time the concept of giving attunements to people.
Right. Bill Bahan.
Bill Bain.
Yeah.
And he set the center up, and they have one center in Colorado here that's still involved with
Sunshine
that.
Ranch.
And they started really, they started together the box on the wall model at that time, the concept there. And there's a whole split. BJ wrote in a book trying to attack him, but he was basically saying at the time that as extension of the principle is that there really needs to be an attunement or an atonement, which is at one-ment in there, and that's what's missing in the chiropractic. And the chiropractic adjustment, that something extra, was a moment of that basically atonement or attunement, which we will call coherence. Coherence is a measurement of energy efficiency. The reason why birds flock and fish school is because together they're more coherent. It is said that cell Margolis, who did research on the body, said the cell is really a community of microorganisms that they eliminate most of the cell barriers because they could coordinate coherently as one. And that basically, think of it, each of us are really part of the coherent system. So rather than looking to correct subluxation, I want to see it's corrected. Please understand, I want to see it's corrected. It's not my goal. It's one of the outcomes. If you follow the chiropractic principle and what we know today. So what we really want to do, as I said, is you want to advance new levels of spinal and neural integrity so that the energy systems are more efficient and the sensory motor strategy of the spine can self-regulate vertebral subluxations, and in the process create strategies that chiropractic has never consistently seen before, occasionally, but not consistently. So, you know, when we take a look at someone, and it's really interesting, network, talk about the wave, because this is important. And it's not just network producers, and hopefully we're the first system that really will do this. We're really talking about perhaps a thermodynamic chiropractic application. And thermodynamics, before you go woo-woo, oh no, thermodynamics, it's another way of saying the effective use of energy and information. Either it's breaking down with enough energy so the information can't organize, called dis-ease or entropy, which means death is imminent at some point, or closer, or you have syntropy, negative entropy, where it builds up something it couldn't do before and something newer grows, new concept, new ideas, new development, new immunity happens. And in syntropy, what's happened is negative entropy. Energy goes into the system and it uses it to organize it to higher levels. So it's stable against the old type of breakdown and stuff, but it's vulnerable to new changes, but it's more dynamic, more plastic. You have greater sympathetic, parasympathetic integration, greater pliability, heart rate variability. And people talk about heart rate variability. Something even more important that I think about that is the spinal coherence. Because I've seen many people with great heart rate variability whose lives are messed up. They talk about how it's a spiritual state. The reality, it's integration of that heart rate variability in a spinal informational system that carries information. That's a whole other thing. But the wave that goes through, I mentioned before, it's a central pattern generator, CPG. And what does that mean? You know, it's really nice to know what generates the pattern. It's really nice to know what generates self-organization. It's really nice to know why the spine moves the way it does, and why you see blue in different colors and green. Different people hear things differently. Same conversation, same music, interpret differently. Because when innate creates us from the dust, so to speak. And it organizes us through these different organizing intelligences of innate, I call it bioenergetic, emotional, two mental, and spiritual intelligences. When it does it, it needs energy. When we talk about the concept of intelligence, force, and matter, the trine of life that Reg Gold put together, in his dissertation for his PhD, the honorary chiropractic philosophy degree, you have it there?
Yeah.
Is yours signed by Reggie?
This one is not signed. This
Okay.
is not signed.
Okay.
This is the
Well,
reprint, but this is interesting is that those were out of print and Sherman College reprinted it. You can get it from the bookstore. I give it to my team members whenever I hire them to get the basic understanding of chiropractic.
and it's basically what he said is thermodynamics. He said, chiropractic of life, BJ talked about expression of intelligence, force, and matter, the relationship of that, and that basically the purpose of intelligence was create force. The purpose of force was to organize intelligence, so to speak. The purpose of matter was the union of the two. The chiropractic meaning of life was expression of intelligence through matter. And what Richard Gold said is that, talk force, but it really means energy equals mc squared. Energy and matter are the same. So if you talk about energy and intelligence, what you really have is thermodynamics. And I applied that to why do you want a spine that has certain curves? Why do you want certain stability? Why do you want the weight scales? Why do you want the things to happen? Because they're all measurements of thermodynamic efficiency of the structural system that we're looking at. Why is it a challenge if the thermography is off or the surface EMG is off? Because there's indication that there's not enough energy to organize effectively. Therefore, there's dis-ease, ... So even applying the forces, when I develop network, I said I want to use the least force in the right place that allow the system to self-organize. And I looked at that with a tunnel model originally in developing that. And with this, what's important to know is the force and presence are inverse. And this is a spiritual teaching. This is like a woo here. And that spiritual presence is important. Being present with something, just be aware of what's really happening in the moment while experiencing it is a magic. It's really magical. And the more you are present with what's going on, rather than your concept of how it should be, what winds up happening with that presence, there's an awareness. There's a coherence between two people, and you can give the adjustment that's something special, that magic. That there's energy efficiency there. What many chiropractors do, as all of us do in life, the less present we are, the more busy, more effort we are, the more force we use to try to make things happen our way. That's educated mind running it. Innate use force. It just efficiently self-organizes. So what we want to do is see a greater level of self-organization. Now, the wave happened in network originally, and it wasn't always about energy efficiency. And, I actually ended network chiropractic as a method in 1994-95 because I was finding that we were producing waves, having greater changes, but for sustainability, we had to create new emerging properties in the nervous system to take this to the next level. And we've done this over the years, and as the research shows in major journals, get this, people getting a master's and PhD degrees studying coherence of the human nervous system, studying network. Why isn't this all over the place? Why aren't the chiropractic colleges talking? Why aren't they starting to teach techniques that use the least force to produce the greatest wide range results, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and different levels? Because we're in a conscious model of looking at the physical stuff and using force to correct things to bring people to a prior state of maintenance. If you do that in a company, you're out of business, man. I mean, that's just it. We need to use the same type of models used in the business world as they use in the healthcare system as they use in the business world, and that is not to restore a person to a prior state or to the normalcy, but to allow the system to create more and more unstable states that are matched by energy. Because a state of instability with energy we call trauma, a breakdown. Mm-hmm. Instability with energy, the organizing wisdom just brings it to another level. It's growth, it's a miracle, it's healing. So we need to take a look at that and have our chiropractic methods really be thermodynamically efficient to produce synergy.
Well, and this is the sentence relative to that triune of life that's like my favorite sentence, okay? Which is that, wait, I got it right here. Health. Oh, I lost it. No, I got it. Health.
That's what it is, isn't it? I got it. I lost. I
I
got
got
it.
it. I lost it. I got it. It wasn't coherent, but I got it now. Right where it says dis-ease with a hyphen is nothing more nor less than a lack of organization or order. Thus, a malfunction is disorder. There's no such thing as a stomach disorder, blood disorder, stomach and blood at one purpose, the total being. But he goes on to say that basically there's but a functional manifestation or a single fact that trauma has been violated, the intelligence is able to express 100% through matter because of the link between them, and that health is organization, that health is a state. It can also be said that health is harmony. There it is. The health is harmony. It's the maximum state of organization in which every cell is harmoniously functioning. That's our goal, is getting a maximal state of organization and continuing to optimize that as best we can.
And the link is energy, and energy is bound up as tension, as distortion, as limiting beliefs. One of the key things is that our sense of self is one of our enemies. We created there because as long as it's a separate me, it's not you. It's me thinking I'm no longer experiencing the world. And the sense of self is coordinated by motor strategies in the spine. It's conditioned. So when the wave first started coming out of people, they started having spiritual experiences, seeing the world differently. Lots of things were happening. And sometimes the spines improved. And I knew there was a phenomenon. I was not sure that I want to continue or not. Actually, Danny, when your mother took her first network seminar at that time, and you probably remember what you went to that seminar at that time with me. That was my last time I was going to teach, because I'll show the wave as a major force of change that can destabilize the way a person was experiencing things before and open up to new energies. And I wasn't sure I wanted to take the path of what to do with that at the time. And your mother, as a student, having been one of the few people who had that spinal wave happen through network adjustment, said to you can't stop doing this. I'll observe office, and this affects everyone here. Come into the office, and I'll observe, and we'll write down why some people have waves while other people don't. What do you find different about the spine? We have to keep doing this. She says, I'll help you. I'm telling my life right now that I can eat the money. I want my kids getting this care, so I'll help you do this. But you take care of my family, me and my family regularly. So Danny started getting care. The family started getting care. So if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't have gotten care, and there'll be no Mile High. Okay, so let's talk about how it's organized, right? I love complexity. So what happens, we found out this wave, and I'm able to articulate this really easily. B.J. Palmer was forever looking for the nerve force carrier wave. It was a vague concept to him that he said if he took the heartometer reading and the neurocephaloneurotypograph reading, the early version of EE and EKG, and the neuroscope reading, put them all on oscilloscope, somehow he would find this one wave pattern that perfectly expressed innate intelligence. And if that could happen, then innate energy can become one. And what we live and what we know in life is perfectly matched with the organizing force of the universe. And then the prisons open up, the hospitals open up, the world is different. Basically, we enter a new age, a new world. That's what the vision was. And he spoke about that. I said I believe that this wave I was creating may be an aspect of the nerve force carrier wave there. So we studied it, and all different things I was put to study. I personally put, actually, Jackie and I put over $1 million into research and advancement to different things personally, not even what the research studies did, and better understanding models over the time, because it's really important to do this. And they found this wave that moves people in network care is unique for each individual. It's a human identifier, like the retinal print or the thumbprint. Now, someone could take a contact lens and get to a scanner with a face retinal print. You could put a glove on someone else's fingerprint and get there. Homeland Security was interested in really dynamic identifiers for people, and they actually visited Professor Edmund Young Care's research study early on, because that was fascinating, finding an identifier. But it's not just that. Human gait is what's called a CPG, a central pattern generator. It's associated with that. It means there's circuitry embedded in the spine. No matter what happens to a person, you break your leg, you fall, whatever it is, There's a pattern, it's inherent with each person, with algorithms unique, innate for that person, that organizes all motor movements in your gait around the algorithm. That's how you, most energy efficient way to organize the world, as compared to the way you've been conditioned to do. Well, by 2011, a paper by Sri Muthvaki, who got his PhD studying coherence, the nervous system, central nervous system, the wave. He published a paper with Edmund Youngker and other people that said that the network wave appeared to be the second node central pattern generating the spine, and the first one not associated with locomotion. Since then, I think 10 or 11 universities have studied the wave and mathematically studied it for the potential for reorganize. And basically, recent research said that not only is this wave self-organizing there, it's each person's unique signature. It's associated with a level of coherence of the central nervous system, coherence at a distance. What does that mean? If we hold an adjustment contact in the sacrum, the cervical starts may oscillate, if that's what we want to do, create, before the signal got up there. Quantum entanglement means the whole system learns and functions as one. It's the greatest distance of central nervous system entrainment is the term ever seen in this coherence, which means everything between is totally efficient, which means the energy and information from the sacrum and the cervicals is simultaneously experienced perfectly energy efficiently. This is what we've been seeking to do for years, and each level of care is to produce another level of that self-organization. The theory is actually showing, and it feels good that it's showing up, but it feels better is the fact that we could teach people to make a difference about this. And that's what you're doing, leading the network teaching for this. What's even more interesting is now we have to publish papers on, but right now the data is showing that we put two people on tables next to each other. One per person's spine will start rocking coherently with the other person as one signal across space, which is where we say, get adjusted, the world changes. I mean not just a force application. The question, was a force application actually an adjustment? An adjustment, I believe, is the thermodynamic efficiency of the system, information, energy that affects every realm of a person's life existence. This is what we're really looking at, Danny.
And this is, I want to say, from my understanding of the basics of the chiropractic philosophy and principles that I learned, which I learned at Sherman College from Tom Gilardi, this is the expression of the promise that we wanted with the foundational values of chiropractic, is that the nerve system have greater levels of organization and coherence. That's the why that we've been going for.
So then, that's the case. The education of those people taking the sacred trust, and I accept that sacred trust. And, I don't know if you know people, the sacrifices that we have made as a family in doing this, in advancing this, has been enormous. Anybody that maybe was a little bit smarter may have stopped a long time. What's happening now is we're really looking at this because it's showing up that everything from tensegrity structures that supports the structure of the body is associated with molecular frequency and train oscillation. People talk about attention deficit and challenges. What is this? What happens is signal going up to the thalamus gets too stable. Two oscillators of the thalamus create a coherent field, which means coherent consciousness, and it doesn't allow the instability to allow it to go to the emotional center or up to the brain. It gets localized. So what happens is as we get more spinal and trained oscillators, the system gets more energy efficient, and theoretically, it should be able to go between the lower brain, the thalamus, the cortex more efficiently in different levels of life. So we're looking at the number of frequency and trained vertebral oscillators rocking as an indication of the level of coherency of the nervous system. In this research paper, these research papers, and a lot of the work we did was under the radar of the biomedical system for years, and they were in engineering mathematics journals. Finally, it was published in the Journal of Alternative Complementary Medicine about central pattern generator, not in mathematical terms, but in terms people could read. And when a few of these papers published in mathematical engineering journals and the Journal of Alternative Complementary Medicine actually suggests, is the mathematics of this wave and this assessment be part of the standard neurological suite for assessment of coherence of the human nervous system. Only thing is, who else is going to produce it? That's the key. And this is really what we're looking at. It's really a new way of seeing things. I got a notice. The first paper on major papers on coherence at this level was published about a year ago. And it was presented at a conference on mathematics, actually a conference on the highest level statistical analysis, because they developed new math to study this. And it was presented there at a conference. And there are many papers presented on that after that. But I would just read that there are thousands of academic journals in this past year that have referenced the mathematics done studying network wave in the papers they're writing on coherence and other levels. It's rare. You have thousands of academic papers referencing the studies to further understand this. So we have lots of technologies developed. Imagine what it would be like. I was invited, we'll see if it happens. I was invited to do research with a man who studies surface proteins. And he said he thinks the reason why the body, plasma proteins, I'm sorry. And he actually collaborated with one of our researchers in looking at the mathematics of the wave. He believes the reason why the wave occurs this way, and the reason it moves this way, one of the things we just discovered in network care, and it's not that I'm trying to sell your network. I want to help you understand that there's a level of understanding the nervous system that chiropractors need to learn. And you don't have to learn all the allopathic stuff to fill the stuff and report things that other people talk about when you have in your own backyard so much information that it spends a lifetime to master. That when I talk about a bioenergetic intelligence and level 1 in network and producing a change in connective tissue, and level 2A, a stretching response to the emotion and the wave in the lower mind, and in the awakened state, the body moving in this particular way, it's all associated with the fact that each energetic intelligence moves energy differently. So I was asked, would you like to take a look at this plasma proteins? I believe the plasma proteins will have the same mathematical signals as the person's wave. We have other people, as you saw, who want to take the idea of we're taking the wave signal, which is a mathematical bioelectrical signal, and we're putting it into an acoustic wave and putting it in water and actually showing how water reorganizes. We have one person saying that they believe the level of reorganization of water in all forms, structure, is impacted significantly. We demonstrate that, which would then mean, therefore, the wave probably would be a self-organizing signal, innate signal. There's some conjecture here, but some top researchers want to look at it. The wave would theoretically impact the self-organizing body fluids. Now, we're a body planet, most of the body is fluid. Understand, the signaling between proteins, between surface membranes, between all expressions of gene expression is a function of how the structure of the fluid of the body organizes even the proteins. I believe that through the mathematics of the wave and network, we're going to be able to identify a person's innate signal. And every realm of life will develop whole new energies, whole new areas where people, rather than say, how could I have less of this? Yes, I have this disease, I have this condition or circumstance of my life. How can I find the energy source to better self-organize, allow this organizing wisdom to do it, and how do I have outcomes to know it? And how can I realize if I can express my innate signal authentically, then all the conditioning I have, all the stories I have, all the bull I have, all the fear and all the doubt from the conditioning is gone because I innately know. And that's when we talk about innate and educated become one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got to tell you, one, I want to acknowledge you yet again for always striving for the next level. And that you've seen that over and over 40 years. It's your track record, always finding out what's the next level that we can reach for. And here's the thing, so much of the chiropractic profession has been looking backwards or facing a backwards direction, and that's death, right? It's really stagnant, versus looking forward and trying to not replicate another profession, but looking forward into what can we produce, and you just constantly stretch the barrier of that. Well, there is no barrier, but you constantly stretch the horizon. We'll say that. So,
thank you, Daddy. And the thing is, I don't mean to be insulting, but I'm not doing this for chiropractic. Okay. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for what's necessary in the human condition.
right.
And as long as our profession, or any discipline, serves the higher order of self-organization, it will be supported. Because
Right.
life is smart; it knows what it's doing, and we get with what how would life do it?
Right.
What would life say? How would life respond? Is really what we're looking at. So I've said a
And
lot here.
we can't even throw a Sid Williams quote in there and say nothing's bigger than life.
That's right. Well, Danny, as a with Sherman, you might see the difference.
So
there is something, but and the thing is, you drop the keys. Life is a principle,
right. So
but it has to be a practice.
yeah. Well, thank you so much. I know how full your schedule is, so thank you for taking your valuable time to join us on the Mile High podcast. I know this is going to be in one of the top most listened to, watched, talked about, quoted, misquoted, everything episode. So, but I want to thank you for taking the time for sharing. And if you want more Donald Epstein, then one of the places to do that is to get in the field at Mile High. August 17th to 20th. Register at www.milehighchiro.org. We will put contact information for Donald Epstein's website, Wise World websites, and the other projects you have in the blog post to go along with it so people can find you. And that will be very exciting.
Thank you, Danny. And everyone listening, I just want to acknowledge, be at Mile High, not just because he's my kid, okay? Because what Danny has done is really something extraordinary. I came from the thing of the dogmatic straight chiropractic, had to be this way, that way, and as compared to how could I serve humanity in a bigger way through what I'm doing. And what Danny is doing is really seeing that the chiropractors wake up to more life in chiropractic and wake up to it's all about dynamic relations we have with people, our practice members, and the lives changing and using our skills. And the number of outcome assessments you use are extraordinary. Because what we're doing is we take care of somebody. We're responsible for not only for the natural health, but helping them live a life that's so full and so available and so at the edge. And we can't afford not to know if we're doing the right job. I mean, if they're in your office, compared to somebody else's office. You only have a certain amount of time, and the number of words the success in practice proportionate is inverse to the number of words you use. The key thing, all this developed because I saw how life worked. And I then modeled, how does life do it? How does life do it? So please don't make yourself the hero anymore. Okay? Allow the organizing with the universe to be the hero, serve it, and then you always, am I enough for that? I'm not enough. We should always feel that we're not enough to serve this, which makes us strive for more.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And so thank you everyone for subscribing to Mile High Podcast on iTunes or Stitcher or Facebook or YouTube. And we look forward to seeing you in August. And, this is going to be released just before our early registration deadline. So you want to register before April 15th. And we look forward to seeing you on higher ground. Like our page on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Mile High Chiro.